game and went on to win the national championship against Georgia in the very next game. Alabama is pulling in to Levi Stadium, home of the 49ers. 71,000 capacity here. This has been home to a Super Bowl. It's been home to a Grateful Dead concert. The Rolling Stones are going to play later this year. And a big event tonight in college football with the two preeminent programs in the sport. Glad to have you with us on Championship Drive. Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, Lee Corso, and Kirk Herbstreit. Man, you see these highlights and you realize how high the bar has been set by these two teams.
I tell you what, just two titans. When you look at Alabama, you look at Clemson, what Dabo Swinney's been able to do at Clemson. Of course, Nick Saban is the GOAT, the greatest college football coach of all time. Both teams play to a high standard. We thought we would see this game as the season grew older, and neither team let us down. Both teams played excellent football. I think we're going to have a monster matchup tonight.
The winner of this game would be the first team to be 15-0 since the Penn team did it. 121 days there, years ago. 121 years ago.
Wow.
I don't know about you. I'm going to relax, enjoy this game, and watch history being made.
As Coach Saban walks into this stadium trying to be one of that team. Since that wasn't Penn State. That was Penn.
The Quakers.
The Quakers, 121 years ago.
121 years ago.
Crazy.
Incredible.
Craziness.
Incredible.
I'm just fired up to see, as you guys said, the two best teams. Here comes Tua. This guy's been dealing with pressure since last year's national championship. It just doesn't seem to be fazed by it. He won't be fazed by it tonight. The same could be said for Trevor Lawrence. You know, with so much intensity and energy around this game, I really specifically could point to Tua and Trevor Lawrence and these quarterbacks and these two offenses, because there's a potential, if this game goes the way you would think on paper, chance for some fireworks, chance for both these guys to have a chance to put up some big points.
You're going to see stars all over the place. Todd McShay, I think, has 7 of the top 35 on his draft board in this game, and I would suggest you also might see in the following two drafts the number 1 overall pick in each of the next two, with Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence. You have power with these two guys going head-to-head in the national championship game. Of course, we've got everything covered. Reporters have been following both teams for the last several days. Maria Taylor with number 1 Alabama. Tom Rinaldi is following second-ranked Clemson. How Clemson got here, we'll hear from each of the reporters in just a second. They did so by dispatching Notre Dame in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and Trevor Lawrence was just on point.
Yeah, he really was. He had opportunities to make plays down the field. Remember, late in the first half, took advantage of those, makes the throws downfield, and be truthful. The difference between last year's Clemson-Alabama game and this year is this: the ability to throw the ball down the field. Clemson 0 for 4 on passes 15 yards or longer. That's not the case this year. They will test them, and when you throw the ball downfield, you open up running lanes for Travis Etienne.
That's why Dabo Swinney was so comfortable making that switch from Kelly Bryant to Trevor Lawrence.
30-3, the final, so Clemson advances to the national championship game. So, Tom, what's the latest with the Tigers as they prepare for this title match?
Awaiting their arrival, which should be imminent, Reese. It's just about a 5-minute bus ride from their hotel. Before big games, Dabo Swinney has a mantra he repeats to his staff all the time. It's about players, not plays. Players, not plays. The proof of that, if you look at the Clemson sideline tonight, you'll see Swinney's 15-year-old son holding a large piece of paper. It's called a touch chart. What does it do? It keeps tabs on the explosive players for Clemson on the offensive side, like Travis Etienne, Justin Ross, to make certain that they don't get lost in the execution of the game plan. It's simple, Swinney says. You got to make certain Steph Curry gets his shots if you're going to win the game. We'll see if that turns out to be a championship touch, Reese, when all is said and done tonight.
Tom, a fitting analogy in this part of the country, not too far away from where the Golden State Warriors ply their trade. Alabama got past Oklahoma in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Desmond, the defense shut down Kyler Murray in the early going. They applied an early knockout.
You know, they came out and made a statement. You know, the Heisman Trophy winner, Kyler Murray, they wanted to show him that they have the #1 defense in the country. People thought that this was going to be a shootout. And I think they took exception to that. They were offended. Like, they were just going to run up and down the field, Alabama's defense. The physicality, offensively and defensively, The Sooners couldn't match that at all.
Not at all.
45-34 the final. And I'm not sure about Nick's throwing motion there. It's much better when he's doing it with the defensive back drills when he's throwing the ball there. Maria Taylor's with us. So we saw Alabama arrive here. Maria, what's the mindset of the Crimson Tide tonight?
I got to tell you, Reese, the fans got to see Nick Saban on this big board right over my shoulder, and they all started cheering already here in Levi Stadium. Now, I do know that Nick Saban has already addressed his team on Sunday night, and one of the major themes in the message is that we just can't have self-inflicted wounds. He pointed to the end of the first half in the Orange Bowl, and those 3 pre-snap penalties are the things that you can't have, because he says Clemson thrives on big plays and the negative plays that the Crimson Tide could potentially make. Now, he also did say that he will break things up and have his coordinators speak to the team before they come out. And now, Nick Saban has entered the field, Reese.
Maria, this walk on championship night, the focus, the determination, I mean, he comes in with business on the mind. We're sort of turning around and looking. He's right behind our position.
This is claiming your territory is what he does. I'm telling you, man, he does this for every game. But as you said, Reese, it's a little bit more meaningful when he's walking the grounds, always getting the report. I don't know. I always wonder what the report is. The field's the same everywhere you go. I don't know what the report is. He gets the report there from the gentleman off to his right, our left. And, you know, it's a 100-yard field. It's what is it, 53 and a half? 53 and a third. But he comes storming through here, and it's just part of his ritual, what he likes to do.
I think one of the things you do is check the wind.
Yeah.
He's checking the wind for that kickoff, and that's very, very, very important.
The kicking game has been difficult. Remember, this is a brand new side. There is a history of some side issues in this field, but this has been grown. They took care of it. It's been covered for the last couple of days, took the tarp off about midnight last night. They've been trying to keep it dry, and the surface, you hope, is fitting for this type of matchup. If you look at FPI and the expected margin victory, how much better a team is than the average college team, in the last 11,000 FBS versus FBS games, the only game that matches this one in pregame matchup, Texas and USC in that national championship. This is a high-level game.
It is, and I think there's a great expectation that we have a chance to see a game that was reminiscent of the first 2 times these teams got together, where you had a chance to see quarterbacks making plays. I really believe that the key to this game will be which defense can affect the other quarterback, whether that means slowing down the running game, getting these quarterbacks into obvious passing situations. If Tua's throwing on his terms, that Clemson secondary is vulnerable and they're in trouble. Same could be said with Trevor Lawrence and those receivers that he has, Travis Etienne. He's got NFL personnel all around him. If they let Trevor Lawrence throw on his terms, then I think Bama's in trouble. So who can get that quarterback kind of out of his rhythm and comfort zone, I think, is key.
I think the key to the game is the red zone defense. I think both teams are going to move the ball up and down the field, but the team that plays the red zone defense best wins.
Good point.
Because they're going to kick field goals instead of getting run touchdowns. In a close game like this, that's very, very, very important. Advantage Alabama.
Interesting, Coach. I think the key to the game is going to be whichever defensive coordinator doesn't coach scared. You can't coach scared in a game like this. You have two of the best quarterbacks in college football. You look at Trevor Lawrence and Tua. So you can't let these guys just sit in the pocket and pick your defense apart. You have to come at them. I think that Brent Venables, he's going to have to really pick and choose when he's going to blitz Tua and add some pressure to that game, because on the back end, I don't think they can hold up with Alabama's wideouts. But what he needs to do is speed Tua's clock up a little bit and get him off the platform. Make him make throws on the run to try to affect his accuracy.
And, you know, that's a great point. Venables and Dabo Swinney have been together for a long time. Alabama, they have 6 new assistants. Tosh Lupoy's defensive coordinator in this game for the first time. Pete Golding's been involved. They've got new guys. How involved will Saban be in calling the defense tonight? Since they met for the national championship in 2015.
It's not bad.
Look how evenly matched these two have been. If Clemson wins tonight, they're going to have the exact same record, same number of national titles. Alabama would still have the edge in weeks at number 1, but Clemson would have the final number 1 on this particular season.
Is the one that matters.
These are the Clemson buses. They have a very short ride from their hotel. Both the team hotels close to Levi Stadium.
Welcome back to Championship Drive, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Clemson bus has arrived. There is Dabo Swinney, his wife Kathleen. Of course, he has 2 sons on the team. this year as Clemson goes for its second championship in the last 3 years and hoping to beat Alabama for another one. Dabo against Nick Saban. Saban going for his 7th title, a long way from his hometown in West Virginia.
His dad coached too, the Ida May Black Diamonds. They had a game the day after Nick Saban Sr. died, and his widow, Nick Saban's mom, insisted the team play without him. The league canceled all games in the face of her stubbornness, because in the Saban family, the game matters most of all. Nick Saban from Fairmont, West Virginia, to the national championship.
And a loyal base of friends for Nick Saban in West Virginia will be rooting for the Crimson Tide and seeing if the man they call brother can get his 7th title. Bear Bryant, cultural icon, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport, 6 championships at Alabama, and Saban comes up with that golden elephant and a fist pump. He's got 6 titles on his own, 5 of them with the Crimson Tide. He can match Bryant with 6 at Alabama and 7 overall tonight.
Coach, you've made that walk around a field several times, too many times to count, but how is it different when you're walking the field before a championship matchup?
Well, it really isn't any different. You know, it's still a game. A game has great importance, and it's important for the players to play with discipline and composure and trust in, you know, their techniques and what they're supposed to do, just like any other game. It just, you know, it seems like there's a lot on the line, but really you have to focus on what you have to do to execute and do your job.
In your final message to the team, how do you express exactly that, the consistency that you need to see tonight?
Well, I think that when you have a lot of emotion about a game and people obviously realize what's at stake, you know, you want them to be able to focus on the things that are important to helping them be able to do the things they're going to do to have a chance to be successful in the game. So that's how we'll try to articulate it to them, and we've already talked about it, so hopefully our guys will be focused the right way.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Maria, Nick, thank you very much. Alabama's offense, the most efficient in the country. The Clemson defense, the same. Tua, more touchdown passes and incompletions in the Orange Bowl victory against Oklahoma. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards, spread it around everybody. 5 different receivers.
Silly.
More than 16 yards per catch and at least 6 scores. That guy could be a big deal tonight. Irv Smith, does Clemson have a matchup for him? Devontae Smith, who was the winner in the championship game last year, but Clemson's defense brings the heat. I mentioned they lead in efficiency. They also lead in sacks and in pressure percentage and in quarterback contact percentage, and they shut down Notre Dame. Notre Dame held to a season low, 248 yards and only a field goal. And the Cotton Bowl victory by the Tigers, they took apart Ian Book and company and made it back here to the national championship game. David Pollack joins us now. Now, Clemson's defense has been sensational. That defensive front has really been the face of the program, along with Deshaun Watson in this era of excellence. But Alabama's so explosive and lethal in the RPO game tonight. It's a great matchup.
Yeah, defense used to win championships. We're in a different era, boys. I mean, now you're talking about Nick Saban and the kicking game and special teams and defense for all those years.
Yeah, right.
That was really fun. This ain't that anymore, boys. This is a totally different level now. Offense, weapons, a complete offense.
Yeah.
Not just a good quarterback and good wide receivers or good running backs and a good offensive line. All of it all together at one time. The best offense Alabama's ever had. Best offense Nick Saban's ever had.
Yeah, David, you know, the things changed because of one guy, though, and that's Tua. I mean, Tua allows them to do so many different things on offense. The RPO game, like David talked about. Let me show you how this offense has evolved as Tua has played the quarterback position. Let me show you his RPO. And what he's going to do is he's going to fake the ball to Najee Harris, number 22, but he's reading the linebackers. As they come up for the fake, you're going to see number 8, Josh Jacobs, slip right behind them for an easy pop pass. That's just an RPO, run-pass option. Tua is great at reading defenses, and now they can do that. And how about this? This formation will have you think they're about to play in a phone booth, but they're really trying to affect the edge. They're going to have 3 blockers out against 2 defenders and just let Henry Ruggs do what he's able to do so well, which is run the jet sweep. Because of Tua, his intelligence and his arm talent, now the playbook is wide open, Kirk, and that's why you get the RPOs, the jet sweeps, and that's why they're the most efficient offense in the country.
Yeah, I think it's Tua's, and I think it's a perfect storm because I think it's the best group of receivers arguably in the country, top to bottom, when you include the tight end. stable of NFL running backs, typical offensive line. They just needed a distributor. So now you got to try to stop them. Where do you start? If you're Brent Venables and you've had an aggressive defense your entire career, you can't shy away from that. They've got to be who they are, which is a confident bunch, a dominant defensive line. And I'll tell you, David can appreciate this because they don't always have to blitz. A lot of times they slant and angle and move. See, pre-snap, they're affecting the communication of that offensive line. Yep. And then once the ball is snapped, all of a sudden that offensive line, they're lost. They have no idea because they're trying to communicate, and they kind of panic, and they're very good because of their experience in doing that. Here's a huge thing. Hold up in one-on-one coverage against these wide receivers. They've got athletes, but can they hold up, especially if Tua has time to throw? The four-man pass rush, where you don't always have to blitz. You rely on Furl, and you rely on Austin Bryant. You rely on Christian Wilkins to be able to get home without having to bring a linebacker and sit out there one-on-one, where if you miss, it goes 80 yards. So I got to believe that they're going to start by just trying to stop and negate the running game and try if you can, even though it's
you're almost giving up. Yeah.
No,
try to stop the running game.
But if you commit to the running game, now you're going to get beat one-on-one. If you stay back, now they're going to run. It goes back to what Des was talking with that RPO game.
Do you expect them to try to spread them out, try to limit some of that movement that you showed in the tape from Clemson's defensive front
and go a little fast. I think Alabama might go a little bit faster than they typically would to avoid. Brent Venables likes to wait. If you really watch him, he likes to wait until the last possible second, then make the call. Alabama's aware of that, so I think they're going to crank up their tempo a little bit to try to negate some of that movement.
Well, it's really going to be interesting because pressure's never a friend to any quarterback, but Tua leads the nation in touchdown passes when pressured. He's second in the country in QBR. But this dude can handle some pressure as well. Outstanding offensive player of the game in the Cotton Bowl against Notre Dame, Trevor Lawrence, the freshman quarterback. He will be in the spotlight for Clemson, Alabama, Part 4.
This is who we wanted since we started January. I mean, whatever it was when we started back working out, this is who we always wanted.
You might as well say it's another rivalry game. It's going to be a great football game every time.
Every time we play them, it's been for all the chips, all the marbles. It's really a gladiator matchup, man, and you really got to come ready to play.
You just know with them you're going to have your hands full. One of the most dominant programs in the past few years. I feel like we're right up there with them, but they definitely are still just a little bit ahead of us.
We're trying to change the tides. We want to be the model program, and we want to be that program that everybody wants to see lose.
They had an equal amount of success to anybody in the country, including us.
There's a tremendous amount of respect because they won't go away and we won't go away. It's going to be a lot of fun.
College football and Eckrich Deli Meat.
Nothing better. Do they follow you everywhere?
Yep.
Give Saturday more flavor. Visit EckridgeFootball.com.
If you've ever needed more capacity, more features, and more for your hard-earned dollar, the time has never been more right. Get guaranteed lowest prices, up to 30% off top brands like the Samsung Kitchen Suite. The Home Depot, more saving, more doing.
Welcome to the Chipotle Free Delivery Bowl. But don't just watch the bowl. Order the bowl. Get free delivery on the bowl. Then eat that delicious bowl. Order now and get free delivery for a limited time.
Welcome to my store. It's one not bound by walls or limited by inventory or restricted by time. The only rule here is to untether your imagination and unleash it on the world. You won't believe what's in store.
Rated E to
PlayStation.
Initiate.
There is a reason human cloning is banned.
I didn't defy every natural law there is just to lose you again.
Replicas. Rated PG-13. In theaters Friday.
This.
Alabama back on top. Clemson dethrones and avenges.
Is more than a rematch. This is a chance to reclaim the crown, to extend the dynasty, to write the next chapter of the rivalry.
Clemson and Alabama once again.
The College Football Playoff National Championship game presented by AT&T. Tonight at 8 on ESPN.
In the beginning, few believed. But
but we kept fighting. Now we're home on ESPN+. Join us.
Welcome back to Championship Drive, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
It's been a full decade of Dabo for Clemson, and he's elevated this program to unprecedented heights. As Dabo Swinney checking out the turf, getting a good look at it before this championship matchup with Alabama.
The reason for it is mysterious, but when it happens, it's magic.
Is declared kings of college football and national champ.
The personality of one man reflected in a group of men. The Tigers believe in him, and he in them.
And why wouldn't you believe? Look at what Dabo Swinney has done. It is now 11 seasons, 10 full. We took over midway through 2008. The win percentage has been off the charts. A chance for a second national championship tonight. Not long ago, he spoke with Tom Rinaldi.
Tua Tagovailoa has never lost a game that he started in his collegiate career. How do you change that?
I don't think Trevor has either.
That's true.
So it's going to change one way or the other tonight. So we got to, just play well. I mean, we got to make the big plays. We got to keep them from making them. We got to get the turnovers and take care of the ball and just play Clemson football. It's all about us, not worrying about the opponent. Just play within what we do, and we got as good a chance as anybody.
Always appreciate the time, and good luck tonight.
Thank you. Enjoy.
He's always ready.
Always. Yes, he is.
Tim Murray gave it to him back in the day. Now Ross Taylor helps him out. I'll tell you what, you look at these storylines. You mentioned Tua, and Tom talked to Dabo about Tua and how the Clemson defense is going to have to deal with this Alabama offense. But it's not just going to be that side of the ball. Certainly Trevor Lawrence has as many weapons as Tua does. But my goodness, Tagovailoa used those so very well. And the Clemson defense, that has been the backbone for this program for the last couple of years, and now supplemented by Trevor Lawrence's improvement and the way he's been able to bring a big play attack through the Clemson offense, something that was sorely missing in the loss to the Crimson Tide a year ago. But Clemson, they've gained 20 yards on 98 plays this season. Only Oklahoma has done that more often. Alabama, uncharacteristically, has shown a bit of a vulnerability in terms of big plays. So if you look at the other side from the tape we were just watching, the Clemson offense against the Bama defense, the big plays could be a big deal tonight.
I mean, Clemson got a big play running back in Travis Etienne. I mean, he averages 8.6 yards per carry, over 1,500 yards in the season, 22 touchdowns on the ground. I still don't think he's going to run too much in between the tackles. I don't expect a lot of inside zone run. He's only 5'10" and 200 pounds. But I do think that they're going to run some counter plays, some outside stretch zone plays, things to get him going on the edges, but not in the middle between the guard and guard area where you would run up against Quentin Williams.
Yeah, you might want to avoid that.
Yeah. Alabama is famous for creating turnovers. Now, the number of turnovers are very, very important, but what you do with them is important, too.
Exactly.
And this is this stat. Alabama scored 18 touchdowns on opponents' 21 turnovers.
Wow.
18 touchdowns, 21 turnovers.
Wow.
That is amazing. Advantage, Alabama.
You keep saying that.
That's just all I mentioned.
Are you keeping a tally? You got to keep marking down.
We've been on 3 segments, and that's 3 advantage Alabama. 2. All right, that's 2. All right, let's talk about this Alabama defensive front, because it's led by number 92, Quinnen Williams, and he's as disruptive as any interior D lineman that Alabama's had since Nick Saban has been the head coach. And think about that list of players that they've had. But it starts with him, and that's what Clemson has to be able to account for, is being able to keep an eye on him and really trying to, as Des said, running to the outside. It's tough always to run between the tackles, but you're going to see that combination of quickness. Watch the quickness here, getting off a block with his hands and being disruptive. He's not just trying to eat up space and let linebackers make plays. This is what he did to Oklahoma. Actually does it to everybody. Just when you think he's all about quickness, this happens. Center, poor center. I'm sorry, Missouri. Now, remember this, guys. Anthony Jennings got hurt in this game, but before he did last year, he had a field day against this Clemson offensive line. I feel like he's been trending in a better and better way. Look out for 33, and then this is big. If they get Trevor Lawrence, a freshman, into 3rd down, they're as good as there is in the country. It's showing something pre-snap, going to another look, and eventually getting home and getting after the quarterback. And as Nick Saban says, not only sacks, but affecting the quarterback. 3rd down could be key. If I'm Clemson, I'm running wide, as Dad said. I'm throwing those quick passes. Why? Not only to have success on the perimeter, wear down that Alabama defensive line. They don't have depth. No. You're going to see 99, 49, and 92 the whole game. They don't have a whole lot of people. They'll throw in guys, but it's a big drop. So because of that lack of depth, run outside. Make those big 300-pounders run sideline to sideline. Remember, when they beat them, it was 99 plays. Right. And in the second half, Alabama's defense wore down. Clemson, if they're going to win, they got to do the same thing.
And then every once in a while,
then go back to that.
You're right.
We've brought up this stat a lot. They scored 21 of their 35 that night in the last 19 plays after playing 80. Right. Now, Christian Miller, he's a linebacker but functions as a down lineman. South Carolina native against his home state team, but suffered a hamstring injury. It does not appear that he's going to be able to go, though he says he's going to try, but you just don't know how effective he can be. He's their twitchy edge rusher. They really don't have another one as we go down to the field in Kevin Nagandi. And if Christian Miller can't go or is limited, Kevin, that could really hamper Alabama's pass rush tonight.
RD, no doubt about it, here with Joey Galloway and Jesse Palmer. And you take a look at that Bama defense, 45 sacks. That's 5th best in the FBS. This is beyond that front line and that second level. What are you seeing the 3rd level of that defense, Jesse, that Bama has to do tonight for the W?
Well, against that dynamic and explosive Clemson offense and the passing attack, they're going to have to be able to cover on the back end. That secondary was a big question coming into the year. They were replacing 4 starters. Very, very talented, been a bit hot and cold. This defense this year gave up 60 plays of 20 or more yards, the most the Saban defense that Alabama has ever given up. No doubt they are going to be challenged in this game tonight by Clemson's passing attack and their wide receivers, but they've got a lot of dudes in the back end. It starts with Deontay Thompson at safety. Unbelievable athleticism and so much range. Here playing center field. Puma pass for Louisville, trying to drop in a go route. Safety's got to cover 18.5 yards. Look how quickly he gets over there, plucks this ball out of the air for the interception. He's terrific. In the slot, they're good with Shaheem Carter as well. Taking over from Minka Fitzpatrick last year. 2-man look against Georgia, stays right in the hip pocket, able to bat this ball away. He'll be matched up with Hunter Renfrow. We'll watch that one. But I think the key tonight, Patrick Surtain, the true freshman corner, 6'2", 200. I think one day this guy's going to be a star. He got eaten alive by CeeDee Lamb against Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, one-on-one on an island. We talk about Clemson's offense, guys. They throw as many fade routes and goes as anybody in college football. And with T. Higgins and Justin Ross at 6'4", big bodies that can go up and high point the football, Patrick Surtain tonight will be on an island one-on-one. He's got to win his fair share of 50-50 balls. I think his performance goes a long way tonight in determining whether or not Alabama wins.
As a wide receiver, you see Surtain there. What do you think of, what are you telling your quarterback, Trevor Lawrence?
Well, think about the games that Alabama's lost in the past, and there hadn't been many. But when you think about it, it's been a quarterback's ability to throw outside, and receivers making plays against tight coverage downfield is how you beat this defense. Now, Alabama's good as anyone at making a quarterback feel like they're blitzing up front when they're sending 4, keeping 7 back in coverage. On your tape, 2 safeties deep. Clemson has to find a way to make sure that Alabama has to bring more than 4, because if you don't, they keep the 2 safeties deep. And we watched Clemson against Notre Dame, their ability outside once again to make these kind of plays. Justin Ross is 6'4". T. Higgins is 6'4". And this is tight coverage. These are great throws, but better catches by the wide receivers. Here's a 2-deep safety look, which Clemson will see a lot of tonight against this Alabama defense. Tight windows. This is about as good a throw as you'll see in college football all season long from a freshman quarterback. Tight window over linebacker in front of converging safeties. Before the half, this is the one that put the nail in the coffin in this game for Clemson. Great play by T. Higgins making this catch. Now, Deshaun Watson a few years ago was able to do it with Mike Williams making great catches outside. Can Trevor Lawrence do the same? Can they protect him, give him time to go downfield to these 6'4" receivers? Amari Rodgers can also fly, the shorter receiver. They have a lot of weapons. They got to make big plays.
Joey loves the shorter, faster.
Always shorter, faster.
Speed, right?
Exactly.
And don't forget this. A lot of people talk about Tua throwing the ball to Jerry Jeudy. They got 4 touchdowns of 50 yards or more. Trevor Lawrence has 4 touchdowns or 50 yards or more to Justin Ross. So they can do it on the other side with their own freshman wide receiver, RD.
State of Alabama native Justin Ross playing against his home state team, and there is Christian Wilkins playing in his final game tonight as Clemson. What a leader and a great player Christian Wilkins has been, a 3-time first-team All-American and a substitute teacher from time to time, which brings us to the Extra Yard for Teachers, College Football Playoff Foundation's primary initiative. Its mission, elevate the teaching profession by inspiring and empowering teachers, even subs like Christian Wilkins. This season, teams, players, and coaches saluted teachers in local communities by hosting and honoring them in stadium ceremonies that continued through the New Year's Day games. For more information on this great initiative, go in and day out on the field and on tires you can trust to help you go the distance. Goodyear, more driven. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, it has turned into a spectacular late afternoon in the Bay Area. Trevor Lawrence, the freshman, get a quarterback start. You know the last freshman quarterback to beat Nick Saban's Alabama team? You know, you
I do.
Wesley Carroll. Wesley Carroll? I'm glad Kirk was watching the earlier show, aren't you?
I'm here for you guys.
Well, Jalen Hurts came very close to being a freshman quarterback to win the national championship when he started against Clemson in 2016. Jalen will back up Tua Tagovailoa tonight. Pollock is back. Where is Alabama most vulnerable tonight?
I think the Christian Miller injury is significant. I think the corner play for Alabama, you can take some shots and make some plays, and now your pass rush takes a big blow, it takes a big hit. I think Alabama's defensive secondary pass defense takes a huge hit.
I agree with you because they all work together. That pass rush, speeds up the timing of the clock. Exactly for the quarterback. And you look at the secondary. The last 2 games, they've given up over 300 yards passing. And number 2, Patrick Surtain II, he was exposed in that Orange Bowl game. And look out for Hunter Renfrow. He's still at Clemson, believe it or not. He's still there.
You guys know Nick Saban wants to sit. Joey talked about it a little bit. He wants to sit back with 2 safeties.
Yeah.
And the reason he wants to sit back with 2 safeties is to prevent anything being thrown downfield. If he can sit with 2 safeties deep and stop the run, Clemson loses the game.
Exactly.
So he'll start the game with 2 safeties back. That's when those quick throws in the running game have to make Nick Saban say, oh, man, get the safety down. Right. Then Clemson, that's where Alabama's vulnerable, one-on-one. If they can get at that one high safety look, you love that in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
The deep throws.
He's all in.
But to T. Higgins, I'm telling you, and Justin Ross, vertical shots if they get the one high safety.
I saw Alabama play twice in person.
With your own eyes.
And I was not overly impressed with their kicking specialists. In fact, their special teams. If there's an Achilles heel to Alabama tonight, it's their special team. Advantage, Clemson.
Oh! Wow.
Keeping them on it.
He reverse field on us. He reverse field on us on that one.
And in a game in which every moment, every point could count, nobody has missed more extra points this year than Alabama. Missed 8 of them.
I say nothing.
But of course, if you can just make great throws all the time, like some people on our set are able to do, then money just seems to find you. Earlier today, Cheryl, the winner of the $1 million challenge, she tried from 15. Look at Herbie spinning the feet in there.
By the way, it didn't even touch the side.
15.
15?
Yeah.
How much did you win?
$500,000.
Half a meal.
No, for the
extra yard for teachers.
She said, give me some. I thought I won.
I wish I won that. That was for the teachers, man.
Hey, if that money had been for him, that throw might have wobbled a little bit right now. I don't know. Only got just a little bit of a duck. That was a great throw.
Yeah,
it was. Is that 2 years in a row?
Yeah, 2 years in a row. $1 million in 2 years now for the teacher.
Wow.
That's
you know what's going to happen? They're going to back him up to 25. Here's what happens on SportsCenter after the game. SVP with the MVP. Tom Rinaldi on Saban's legacy. Win or lose as Saban goes for championship number 7 tonight. The guy who will be an interested observer tonight is Bill Belichick. He and Nick go back 40 years with a friendship each has learned from the other.
I think the thing that fascinates me most about Bill is how he can stay like laser focused to a greater degree for a longer period of time than anybody else that I've ever really been around.
Championship Drive, presented by Mercedes-Benz, is brought to you by Samsung QLED TV, the official TV
and the game winner.
Touchdown! Touchdown! Touchdown!
Part 3.
There we go again. It probably won't be the last one.
And the big man.
Storybook it for the big man!
Which brings us to round 4. They wouldn't be denied, nor derailed, nor divided. They're united. A shared spirit. Familiarity doesn't breed contempt always. Sometimes it begets greatness. So, what's it for? For glory. For history. For legacy. 4. And for 1, it's a lucky number.
We haven't seen anything like this in the history of college football. In fact, in the NFL and FBS postseason history, the Raiders and Steelers met in 5 straight conference playoffs, 49ers and Packers in 4 straight. This has been unprecedented in college football, and with Dabo and Nick meeting as head coaches, they passed John McKay and Woody Hayes for the most postseason matchups, both ranked in the top 5. McKay won a couple of championships in those matchups. Just over an hour away from kickoff, the national championship game, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Fowler, Herbie, Maria, and Tom will have the call. Tom Rinaldi joins us now. And Tom, a really special relationship between the juggernaut in college football and their head coach, and the juggernaut in the NFL and their head coach.
Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, Reese, have more in common than you might think. They share a national origin, both of Croatian heritage. They're born just 6.5 months apart, Saban the senior. But those simple metrics can't begin to describe the bond between 2 men who perhaps uniquely can understand one another and what they do. It might be the most significant friendship in all of football. And it started in 1982 at Navy. Nick Saban was an assistant, and Steve Belichick, a longtime scout on the same staff, who introduced Saban to his son Bill, then a young coach with the New York Giants.
We got along well and talked ball, and that's how we sort of started our sort of mutual friendship.
What did your dad think of him?
One of the best coaches he ever worked with. He was effusive in his praise of Nick.
A decade later, in 1991, Bill had become the head coach for the Browns and called Saban, then the head coach at Toledo, to join him. I'd read that you interviewed 85 potential assistants, and Nick was your first hire. Why?
Well, because it was the most important one. Somebody to run the defense and somebody that, that I had confidence in.
It was one of the best things that I ever did professionally in terms of my growth. I never thought it was hard working for Bill because you knew exactly what he expected.
I learned a lot from Nick. Scheme, technique. In the end, it was really his defense at Cleveland.
How would you describe his ability to focus?
Better than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Who had the back on the screen? I did. David, you got to work through him, and we got to make the tackle on the guy and don't let him run for a big play.
Who do you think is more demanding as a coach?
Nick. I think I might have just a little more patience than Nick.
In the 4 years together in Cleveland, the bond truly and deeply formed. Who is better at busting chops?
Probably Nick. Nick's pretty sharp.
He's got a dry sense of humor, but he can hold his own.
Who's a worse loser?
Yeah, it'd probably be a photo finish. We both take him pretty hard.
We probably both rank up there when it comes to that.
Given all that you've each achieved, what do you think you understand about one another that others simply can't?
How hard it is to sustain it, how hard it is to do it year after year, how you always have new players, your opponents have new players. You're the target for them. I mean, the bullseye's on you from them every week.
Colleagues, competitors, contemporaries. And through it all, they've been there for each other. As in Saban's first season in Miami, when he paused his preparations during a game week to be by his friend's side.
When my dad passed away in 2005, it was a Sunday night, and the funeral was Thursday, and honestly, the last person I expected to see walk into the funeral home was Nick Saban.
Why has your bond endured?
Tremendous amount of respect for him personally and professionally. You know, even though we haven't been together for a long time, there's that same mutual respect.
When you consider what each has accomplished, it's fairly astounding no matter how you measure it. One, trying to compete tonight for his 7th national championship. The other, entering the postseason trying to win his 6th Super Bowl title. You know, what was most interesting, Reese, in talking about Nick Saban to Bill Belichick was afterward, when support staff with the New England Patriots said that Bergeron, who has been with Nick Saban, been with Bill Belichick forever, he'd never heard him praise anyone as much as Nick Saban. The feeling is mutual. Reese?
Tom, those guys have set a standard that's really difficult to comprehend, and sometimes I don't know that we fully appreciate what these two guys have done.
As a former coach, I really admire their ability to stay focused on a job. No matter what distractions, they're focused on their job. The only guy I noticed like that was Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight was like that. There's 3 guys who are great coaches, Saban, Belichick, and Knight, like that.
Wow.
Yes.
That was awesome to see, because you don't very often get a chance to see those two sit down comfortably and answer questions. Tom Rinaldi's able to pull that out of both of them and give you that. I thought it was outstanding. And I'm with Coach. I think we all, I just sit back and appreciate these guys and watch how year after year, no matter who wins tonight, think about with Nick Saban the last 10 years. He doesn't win it every year, but if he wins tonight, it's his 6th in 10 years. And what Bill Belichick does with the Patriots, every single year, they're in the mix. They may not win the Super Bowl, but they're close to it. Excellence and being able to withstand the pressures and the complacency. It's awesome. Awesome stuff.
I tell you what, when I look at those two, I think about discipline. I think about meticulous attention to detail. And I think about preparation. When you talk to former players of Bill Belichick, they talk about how they were prepared for anything in any situation. And you hear the same thing from Alabama's players. These guys, they come across a little bit as ornery, stubborn, sometimes even gruff. But they win, and they're disciplinarians, and what they're great at doing. I had a coach similar to these two with Bo Schembechler, a guy who was no-nonsense disciplinarian, but he found a way to endear himself to his players, so you always wanted to go out there and fight for that coach. That's what these two guys possess, too.
Yes. Yeah, that's the key. People, you can't be that ornery, to use your word, and have the type of loyalty that Nick Saban gets and Bill Belichick does it well. Hey, we're going to cut you loose. You got a big game to call tonight.
Yes, sir.
You guys have a great call tonight. Kirk Herbstreit with Chris Fowler, Maria Taylor, and Tom Rinaldi.
Good luck.
We probably have a camera following Kirk up to the booth to get ready for the national championship game call, and we go down to the field and Kevin Negandhi.
RD, thank you so much. From a different perspective here on the field, you guys fully aware of what it's like on this stage, the national championship. We saw you guys square off on opposite sides. Gus Malzahn, now the head coach at Auburn. You were the OC in the 2011 national championship, and Chip Kelly, the head coach at Oregon at the time, currently now at UCLA. What's the message right now as we are inside an hour from kickoff here with two teams that know each other so well?
Yeah, I think, you know, the work the barn's in the hay. I mean, you're sitting there, you've got everything done. You're just ready to get out there and do it and ready to play.
I think you need them to get the players to relax because there's so much hype in a game like this. You don't have to inspire anybody. There are no win-win for the Gipper speeches in this one. It's just relax, take a deep breath, and let's go play football.
I go back to your game and all the hype with the offenses coming in, Cam Newton, the Heisman winner, and then Oregon with the flash and the Ducks. And then when you look at it, a total of 41 points.
Yeah.
How does that translate when you have that time to prepare, considering we see two big offenses coming up here on this field tonight?
You know, at the time, I think it was 30-plus days that got a chance to prepare, and I think that helped the defense. A little bit different out here. They've had, 9-10 days, so I think it'll be different, and I do expect a lot of points to be scored tonight.
Gus makes a great point. There was 37 days between when we got at the end of our seasons and the games. So there's so much film you can go over. They actually had more time to prepare for the semifinal than they did for the final. So it's kind of a shortened week in terms of looking at it from a bowl perspective. So I think it's going to be a little bit of different perspective. I still think the offenses will show up tonight.
Chip, you have one unique perspective in this stadium as the head coach of the 49ers. We noticed the winds coming in. What advice would you give the kickers here coming up for tonight?
Well, we had Phil Dawson, who's one of the all-time greats and was 40 years old, and he knew this place like the back of his hand. It swirls. There's two openings, but they're not directly behind, so it's going to come in and swirl. It doesn't seem like when you look at the flags, if you look up top, they're high. Down here, it doesn't look like much, but it kicks up during the game, so it'll be interesting. Each kick is different.
We'll see how different it is, especially if it's a close game, RD, as Alabama just stepped on the field. Back to you.
The reigning champions trying to win for the third time in the last 4 years. Kevin, they have plenty of fans who've made their way here to Santa Clara. It's about 2,300 miles away from campus in Tuscaloosa. Fans starting to gear up to take their seats within the Live My Student section. Taco Bell and the College Football Playoff provided free tickets for 500 fans from each school for today's game. It's going to give it a great atmosphere here at Levi Stadium. Had some chance to play some games to get ready too, right beside the $1 Million Band. Taco Bell Live My Student section for the Alabama fans. Clemson fans also getting 500 tickets. Here's Tua Tagovailoa. He is dressed out. He is a crowd favorite for sure. The Crimson Tide quarterback getting set to play in this title game. As we close in on kickoff of the national championship game, Alabama and Clemson. Here is Tua Tagovailoa. His mother has a lot of family in this area. One of the relatives said she expected 400 Tagovailoa family members to be here tonight. Tua said maybe not quite that many.
Well, I don't even know 400 people I could get to Brandon. Good Lord.
Trevor Lawrence, the ACC Rookie of the Year. I'm not sure Trevor will have 400 family members, but he'll have a lot of fans here as Clemson has made its way here to the national championship game. The first time in the playoff era that we've had undefeated teams meet for the national championship. All right, give me Clemson's biggest vulnerability going into this game.
This is easy. Covering the slot receivers with their safeties and protecting the middle of the field. You watch them throughout the season. They've struggled big time. Tua, Waddle, Smith, all these weapons these guys have, they better be ready to defend the whole field, especially the middle.
Clemson has beaten only one ranked team, this national highly ranked team, Notre Dame, all year. Now, Alabama, in case, has beaten Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma. Now, that lack of competition might be Achilles' heel for Clemson. Advantage, Alabama.
That's 3-1, I think. Keep it score at home.
I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I mean, people obviously, they see how much talent that he has. There's no doubt in that. But is he ready for this big stage against a defense like Alabama? In my opinion, I said that Clemson had the easiest road to get here because the competition in the ACC has been really down this year. This is going to be a huge test for this young man. I want to see how he performs tonight.
Dabo Swinney told me before he arrived there he was the best high school quarterback he's ever seen. He drew a comparison perhaps even to Cam Newton in terms of skill set. Gene Wojciechowski is with us now. Maybe Trevor Lawrence will compare to Cam, Gene, in terms of being a national championship. He's got floppy hair and unflappable air.
I wish I had that hair, Reese. You know, Reese, I asked defensive end Cleveland Pearl, when was the moment that you knew Lawrence could be a special player here at Clemson? He didn't even hesitate. He said, spring practice, ones versus ones. I flush him out of the pocket. He's rolling right, throws the ball across his body, sidearm, 30 yards on a rope, completes the pass. Pearl said he just stood there and shook his head. And you know what? When it comes to Lawrence, that's happened a lot this season.
Lawrence fade ball. In terms of his arm talent, it's as good as it gets.
Yes! Touchdown!
This kid has been unflappable.
He's wired a little differently. This guy's confident, humble, but way mature beyond his years. And watching him throw the football, unbelievable.
This has been the season of Clemson's can't-miss kid, Trevor Lawrence. Last January, he was fresh out of high school. Now, he's in the national championship against Alabama.
A blur. It's been crazy. Really been cool to see not only myself, but just how everyone else has grown and how we've all come together.
What did you hope would happen?
When you set goals and you have dreams, you don't really know exactly how it's going to happen sometimes. I wanted to play for a championship, and I wanted to have a big impact as a freshman.
Lawrence came to Clemson as perhaps the #1 quarterback prospect of all time. His arrival caused Kelly Bryant's departure, though that seems so last September.
He literally calls me December of his junior year. We're at our staff Christmas party, and says, "Hey, Coach, I think I'm ready to commit to Clemson." From the time he committed to this day, he never asked me about another quarterback. He was like, "You guys, I'm good. Y'all don't need to worry about me."
Touchdown, Tigers!
And here comes Alabama.
Was Bama on your short list?
I went on a visit there, and I thought about them a little bit, and we talked, but didn't really make one of my top schools.
Are you looking forward to playing them?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think when you look at a season, you want to be the best and you want to be the national champion. You got to think Alabama, and when you want to win a national championship, you got to think about crossing paths with them.
Clemson dominates, and they'll go to the national championship game for the 3rd time in the last 4 years.
Can a freshman lead us to a national championship, or can this guy come in and be everything that everybody's talked him up to be? The highest recruited quarterback in the history of high school football. He never cared about any of that stuff.
Have you allowed yourself just a moment even, just to kind of think about how it's all unfolded?
I think that's important to do sometimes, just at the right time. So after right after the Cotton Bowl, just kind of thinking about, I'm about to play a national championship as a freshman. That's just amazing.
Lawrence's favorite player of all time is, of course, Peyton Manning. The two quarterbacks actually spoke by phone a few weeks ago, and Lawrence asked him about everything from prep work to being a true freshman starter. And Reese, I asked Dabo Swinney, what's going to be your message to Lawrence before this game? He said, I'm not going to get into specifics, but the general theme is easy. Don't feel like you've got to win this game by yourself, and most importantly, have some fun.
Gene, that's something that Trevor Lawrence has just never been overwhelmed by the moment in his first season, taking over mid-season.
Not even close.
I mean, he's just got a tremendous demeanor. And of course, Coach has brought up earlier, one of the big things that could happen tonight is how well do the special teams play. Joseph Bulovas of Alabama has been erratic on PAT. He's been a little bit better on field goals lately.
They're not my favorite team when it comes to the special teams. I'm telling you, they're not the championship team Alabama has had in the past.
And even those championship teams, I don't think anybody ever in Tuscaloosa ever felt comfortable with the kicking game. It's just always been a struggle.
And Greg Hugel, a former walk-on who's made his way into being the starting kicker for Clemson. He's also had some moments of struggle this year as well, missing 5 of his 15 field goal attempts. He has only missed 1 PAT.
I think special teams can be important in the game of this magnitude, especially close games. Field goals and or field position is going to be key.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Keep pushing day in and day out on the field and on tires.
Coverage begins April 25th on ESPN and ABC.
Championship Drive is presented by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
That NFL draft comes up. You're going to hear couple of phrases routinely that night from the University of Alabama and from Clemson University. You're going to see a ton of NFL talent in this game, according to our buddy Todd McShay. 7 of the top 35 guys on his board from Alabama and Clemson. It would be 8 of 35 if Dexter Lawrence were able to play. The big defensive lineman suspended after flunking a drug test. Todd McShay and Steve Levy will be part of the MegaCast tonight, guys.
Hey, Reese, thanks very much. So, Todd, the NFL is going to have to wait a little longer to get their grubby hands on the 2-star quarterbacks in this game. Tua Tagovailoa, he can't come out until the end of next season, and then a year later for Trevor Lawrence. What about, how do they project their futures?
I think right now, when we've seen so little, but we could say the same thing for Dwayne Haskins, who decided to come out early, and I think is going to be the first quarterback off the board. I personally think they would both be first-round picks. I look at it, and Trevor's got the arm, anticipation, and clearly the size you look for. Tua isn't quite as big, but big enough, and I think he plays what the NFL game is starting to go to in terms of distributing the ball, knowing where to go with the football. His accuracy is off the charts, too. So I think we're looking at 2 future #1 overall picks.
All right, just for the goof here, if they were both in this upcoming NFL draft, where would they go? How high on your board?
You're always pushing it too far, Levy. No, I think they would be the first 2 quarterbacks taken. I think teams would trade up for them, New York and Jacksonville, and they would go ahead of Haskins.
We got some snapping going on here. See, Reese, we don't need Greasy. We're fine without him.
That's not a big surprise. No, I'm kidding. Everybody needs to visit with Brian Greasy. We've got all kinds of angles for you to enjoy this national championship game. The MegaCast, you see, you got the pregame Field Pass, Monday night film room, you name it, all available to you on a variety of platforms with ESPN. Kirk Herbstreit, we cut him loose from championship drive a little bit, visiting with Dabo Swinney before Dabo goes for his 2nd national championship.
What you gonna run on your first third down
against Alabama? Dabo and Clemson trying to get themselves a national championship tonight against Alabama.
Chase coming in against Syracuse and making that throw on 4th and 6. That was a huge play in our season.
Bryce with lots of time. What a throw! A strike for a first down.
It was kind of a play we had to have.
At one point in the week, he was a 3rd stringer, and then now he's in the game trying to win the game for the Clemson Tigers.
Chase Bryce, as smooth as can be in his first game of really getting significant playing time.
I think that just kind of showed our resiliency and then just guys just pushing through adversity.
That play came the week that Kelly Bryant left the team. Bryce forced into service when Trevor Lawrence was hurt. Man, did he come through. Kept Clemson's perfect season alive with that big 4th down throw. Will he be called on tonight? Certainly they hope not. Alabama knows how valuable it is to have a backup quarterback. Jalen Hurts stepped in the SEC championship game and led the Tide to a come-from-behind victory against Georgia, elevated them into the playoff, and got them back here to the national championship game. You'll see Jalen Hurts play in some capacity tonight. Now, Jalen started the national championship game a year ago, and backup quarterbacks again continuing to be the theme. It was Tua coming off the bench. He had been pushing hard late in the season to get more playing time, energized the passing game. Dogs had Alabama to 20.